Hey guys, Ashley here. Welcome back to another episode of the Uninformed redesign, where today we are finally getting around to sorting out the BMW M3 G80. But before we do, I just want to say a massive thank you for all the support that I've received over the last couple of weeks. Having started YouTube, it really means the world to me having all the likes and the comments and everyone subscribing. So please keep it up. But also let me know in the comments section down below if you want to see anything else, because it's all about entertaining you guys and giving you guys what you want. But without further ado, we are here to sort the mess that is this M3, and starting off with this rear arch and making sure that we blend and soften these surfaces as they should have been. Soften those reflections and surface details, and to do this all I was using was a soft brush. But it was this obviously highlight area above the arch and the wheel that I wanted to replicate the G20's highlight area and those of most of the the BMWs, of the last decade or so. However, in doing my research and getting reference images, I actually found out the F80, which I thought was an absolutely fantastic car, suffers from the exact same problem. So sorry to anyone who didn't really notice that, because no, I can't unsee it, but at least it's not as intrusive or as vulgar as this is, but still. And also let me know if you actually knew that in the first place. But there's not much else I wanted to change on this side view. Having looked back on it, I just wanted to lower this snout area ever so slightly, giving it a bit more speed and direction, bringing back the eyelids. And all I did here was use the stamp tool, the clone stamp tool, to replicate the guardrails behind it, and it just, I think just rounds it off quite nicely, gives it a bit more dive and a bit more direction to that front end, and it's not as upright, which is what we wanted. So moving on to the front end, and I've had even more time to think about what I wanted to do, and already making the mistake of doing a redesign so soon after its release, which we won't talk about. It didn't go very well. I think I've come to a nice middle ground, having been able to look over everyone else's thoughts and opinions on the car, and I'm quite happy with what I've come up with at the end of this. We're starting off with the grille area, obviously cleaning it up, taking off that license plate, getting ready to lower it, reducing the weight from above the headlights in that snout area, just like the new 4 Series, which in hindsight actually looks really nice. It might just be in comparison to these M Series cars, but reintroducing those eyelids as well to the top of the grille, giving it that menacing look that I think a BMW really needs. Now we can finally get rid of those hideous fake bonnet vents that were exaggerated in that front snout so much. I wanted to replace them with something a little bit more subtle, ever so slightly more subdued, but still keeping that sculpture of the front end. Replicating again those splines that run from the top of the kidney grills and dissipate slightly and slowly towards the windscreen, which I think still works quite nicely. But having looked at such an empty space there in the middle, I thought it was wise to reintroduce the cutout or cutting area where the badge sits, the reset area, and I think it just breaks that surface area up a little bit better. However, I did miss a trick, and it was made obvious by a friend of mine who pointed out that I should potentially have looked at introducing a bonnet bulge that you see on some of the F80 and the E92 M3 models. And I think, to be fair, looking at it, it probably could have done with that, but hey ho, it is what it is. Let me know what you guys think. Obviously you can make the changes yourself, but he's probably not wrong there. So as we make the final adjustments to the bonnet area, we move on to the lower bumper. And this is the area that I think it could have quite easily gotten out of hand, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't want to go too crazy, I didn't want to go outlandish and redesign completely everything, because there are features here that I actually really like. And I think together there is, or can be, some form of continuity. So I'm really going to focus on that here. And as you can see, if you remember from my last video when I actually broke it down, I really liked these side vertical vent areas. I think they gave the car some real nice stance and some nice purpose, which I really wanted to capitalise on when doing this redesign. I think it was a feature that's really strong for this car, and as you can see, just widening those vents ever so slightly, giving it a little bit of a meaner look, and then copying or mirroring those features just within it, rather than having those unusual diagonal or angular highlights I wanted to kind of simplify that area and just tidy it up. And I think already you'll see in just a moment how much of a difference it actually makes. Now I have seen a lot of people do some really nice and crazy things, but I think I just wanted to keep it clean. However, I did have a little wonder in mirroring that line from the bottom of the kidney grille there, and you'll see here kind of, my experimentation and thought process on how I wanted to replicate that design. And I'd love to hear your opinion on which one you actually think is best towards the end. I'll show you both at the end. And I think it's actually worked out quite nicely in my opinion. But as I was saying, I think a lot of the people, a lot of the designs, that I've seen out and around on the internet, though looked fantastic, I think still strayed too far away from this core design, which I think ultimately is still something I think should be embraced, because it is actually a very interesting direction that BMW have taken. So as this video comes to an end, I thought I'd take the opportunity to kind of talk about my process and the way I go about renders like this. As you see, my personal approach and the way I enjoy rendering is to render as if I were rendering a vehicle from scratch. So everything is kind of hand drawn, brushed in, very little in the way of superimposing, using other photos and other resources to kind of create surfaces and details. There are times when that is necessary, such as the grille at times. However, I just feel that designing and drawing on the fly lends itself to be a bit more creative and a bit more spontaneous. The design's always evolving and you're never quite set to one sort of design, and you're not limited by the resources that you can find. And that's the kind of way I like to work, though the benefit to superimposing images and using resources, the images and the final outcome tends to be much higher quality in terms of the realism, seeing as they are photos. But again, I find myself, it limits me in terms of kind of my creativity and what I want to do and tweak bits when tweaking bits here and there. So, but I'd love to hear how you work and prefer to work. But we're just coming into the final legs of this video now. We're just tweaking the splitter areas, creating a continuous splitter that goes all the way around the bottom rather than those that were the little kick-ups from the vertical vents that pointed towards the top. Again, not sure where they led, but again, just ties it all together, and there you have it. And onto the comparisons, where I think the difference is day and night. I potentially could have revised the reflection above the rear wheel, but that blending of the surfaces really makes a huge difference. But I'd love to hear your opinion. Let me know in the comment section down below what you would have done differently, what you'd like to see next. I love hearing your thoughts and sharing your ideas, because there's some really intriguing creative minds out there. The two different edited versions that I submitted, and in comparison to the original, a little bit more controlled, a little bit more subdued, potentially boring to some, but I think it just shows a little bit more refinement that I would have liked to have seen in the original. But without further ado, thank you ever so much again for watching the video. It really means the world to me. Follow me at Instagram, Ashley_Niall, on Twitch to watch some of these things live at Ashley Niall, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the like button down below. Thanks ever so much, guys. Take care.